In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Similarweb to analyze competitor websites and understand what strategies may be driving their traffic. Instead of guessing what content performs well in your niche, tools like Similarweb allow you to look at traffic estimates, engagement patterns, and market comparisons so you can better understand how different websites attract visitors online. By the end of this walkthrough, you'll understand how Similarweb estimates website traffic, how it compares competitors within the same industry, and how you can use those insights to better understand what's happening in your market. I'm Erin from My First Website. Let's get into it. All right, so before we jump into the analysis, let's quickly talk about what Similarweb actually is and why people use it. Similarweb is a website analytics and competitive research platform. It collects and estimates data related to website traffic, user behavior, and digital marketing activity across the internet. In simple terms, the platform helps you understand how websites perform online. Instead of only looking at your own site analytics, tools like Similarweb allow you to analyze other websites in your industry and see how they attract visitors. For example, Similarweb can estimate things like how much traffic a website receives, where that traffic comes from, how users interact with the site, and which companies compete in the same space. This type of information can be useful if you're researching competitors, you're studying different industries, or just trying to understand how certain websites grow their audience. At the top of the page here, you'll notice a search bar that allows you to enter any website domain, and this is where most people begin when using Similarweb. Analyzing a website in Similarweb. So now that we've looked at how Similarweb works at a high level, let's go inside the platform and analyze a real website so you can see how these insights actually appear. If you want to follow along while watching this video, you can open Similarweb using the link below and create an account. Once you're inside the platform, you'll be able to search for any website and start exploring the same types of data we're about to look at. Now let's jump into the dashboard. Once you're inside Similarweb, you will land on the homepage, and here you can enter any website or keyword. I have already entered Netflix, so what I'm gonna do now is click on website analysis. So this is where you can enter a domain as well and start analyzing traffic performance and competitor insights. So as I mentioned, I have already entered Netflix, so we can talk about how the data appears. All right, so once I clicked on Netflix, one of the first sections we are going to look at is called traffic and engagement, which you can also see selected here on the left sidebar. So to get here, you simply click on traffic and engagement under the traffic section of the dashboard. So this screen gives you an overview of how visitors interact with the website. Right away, you can see a few key metrics. At the top of the page, Similarweb estimates the total number of visits the website receives. So these numbers are estimates based on Similarweb's data sources, but they help provide a general sense of how large a site's audience may be. You can also see device distribution. So this is how much traffic comes from desktop versus mobile devices. Understanding where visitors are coming from can be useful when thinking about how people actually interact with a website. On the right, Similarweb also shows global ranking and country ranking information. So this helps place the website in context compared to other sites across the internet. If we scroll a little farther down, you'll see a traffic chart that shows how visits change over time. Now, this helps you understand whether traffic appears to be growing, declining, or remaining stable. Looking at these patterns can help you identify whether a site is expanding its reach or experiencing changes in audience activity. Below that section, you'll see engagement metrics such as average visit duration, pages per visit, and bounce rate. These metrics give insight into how visitors behave once they arrive on the website. For example, a higher number of pages per visit may suggest that users are exploring multiple parts of the site, while a longer visit duration can sometimes indicate that visitors are spending time consuming content. While these metrics don't directly show which pages perform best, they help establish a foundation for understanding how engaged an audience is with a particular website. And this is important for the main goal of this video. If you're trying to understand why certain competitors attract traffic, the first step is understanding how large their audience is and how users interact with their content. Once you understand those patterns, you can start digging deeper into where that traffic comes from and which parts of the site are likely driving the most attention. So in the next section, we are going to look at how Similarweb shows where a website's traffic actually comes from, which helps reveal the strategies competitors may be using to bring visitors to their site. site. So the next thing we want to look at is similar sites. So to do this, go on the left under Overview, and then we are going to click on Similar Sites. So this section is extremely useful because it helps you identify websites that compete in the same space as the one that you're analyzing. So right now we're still looking at Netflix, and Similarweb is showing us other platforms that attract a similar audience. On the screen, you can see a list of sites similar to Netflix. For example, you'll notice platforms like Disney+, Hulu, HBO Max, Peacock, Crunchyroll, and Paramount+. So these are all companies that operate in the same general industry of online streaming and digital entertainment. Next to each website, Similarweb also shows a few important data points. So one column shows the industry category, which helps confirm that these sites operate in a similar market. And another column shows global rank, which gives an idea of how large or popular each site is relative to others across the internet. Then there is affinity, and this measures how closely related the audience of that site is to the audience of the site that we're analyzing. So a higher affinity score generally means the users visiting those sites have similar behavior patterns or interests. So this allows you to quickly discover competitors you may not have known about before. And if you're building a website, researching competitors, or planning a content strategy, this step can reveal other companies or platforms attracting the same type of audience that you are trying to reach. And this is where competitor research starts to become really powerful. Instead of looking at just one website, you can start exploring several sites in the same niche and compare how they attract visitors. Once you discover these sites, you can analyze them the same way we're doing here. You can look at their traffic sources, their audience behavior, and eventually which pages are performing the best. And that's exactly what we are going to start looking at next. Once you know who the competitors are, the next step is understanding how they actually get their traffic, which is where Similarweb's traffic breakdown becomes even more useful. All right, so now we're going to move into one of the most useful sections if you're trying to understand how competitors attract visitors from search engines. So in the left sidebar, we are going to click on Search. So this opens up the search overview page, and the reason this section is important is because it shows how much traffic a website receives from search engines like Google, and search traffic is especially valuable to analyze because it usually reflects topics people are actively looking for online. When someone types something into Google and clicks it, it means they were intentionally searching for that information, show product, or page. So by analyzing search traffic, we can start to understand what people are looking for before they land on a competitor's website. At the top of the page, you will see a summary of search metrics. For example, this section shows the total search traffic, the amount of organic traffic, and the amount of paid traffic. Organic traffic refers to visitors who find the site through regular search results, while paid traffic comes from advertisements in search engines. Below that, you can see a graph, and this shows how search traffic changes over time. And this helps you understand whether search visibility for a website is growing, declining, or staying relatively stable. But the most interesting part of this page is further down. So you'll see a section called Top Non-Branded Keywords. So these are search terms that bring visitors to the website but don't include the company's name. This is important because non-branded searches often reveal the actual topics people are interested in rather than just people searching for the brand itself. For example, in this case, you can see searches related to specific shows or entertainment topics. This tells us that people are discovering the sites through searches connected to content they want to watch. This is exactly why we analyze search data when studying competitors. Instead of guessing what attracts visitors to a website, you can see what people are searching for and which topics are actually driving traffic in that industry. And when you combine this with the other sections that we looked at earlier, traffic sources and competitor sites, you start to build a much clearer picture of how websites attract and capture their audience online. One useful way to think about this is that search data acts almost like a window into what an audience is interested in at any given moment. So when people type something into a search engine, they are usually looking for a specific answer, a specific product, show, or piece of information. By looking at the types of keywords bringing traffic to a website, you start to see patterns in what that audience actually cares about. For example, if you were analyzing a blog or content website, you might notice certain tutorials, guides, or topics appearing repeatedly in the keyword data. That can suggest which subjects are attracting the most attention in that niche. If you were looking at an e-commerce website, you might see product-related searches that indicate which items customers are most interested in. Over time, these patterns can help you identify the kind kinds of pages that are likely performing well for competitors. When a page ranks for multiple search terms and continues attracting traffic, it often means that content is answering a question or meeting a demand people have online. This is why tools like Similarweb are so helpful when researching competitors. Instead of guessing, you can actually observe the topics and search patterns that already bring visitors to successful websites and use those insights to guide your own strategy. So when we talk about using Similarweb to find competitors' best pages and learn their strategy, this is really what we mean. We start by identifying competitors, then we analyze their traffic sources, then we explore search data and top pages to understand what topics and pages attract visitors. And once you can see those patterns, you're no longer guessing what works in a niche. You are now studying real examples of content and pages that already attract an audience, and that information can help guide what you build, what you write about, and how you structure your own website. If you want to continue learning how to analyze websites and understand how competitors attract traffic online, make sure you are subscribed for more tutorials like this. Tools like Similarweb make it much easier to see what's happening behind the scenes on websites across the internet. And when you know how to read that data, you can start making much more informed decisions about your own content and strategy. I'm Erin from My First Website. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.